Good morning. Welcome to the Annunciation of Mary. I'm dressed this way. I've just finished a junior school chapel. I'm getting ready for another one, so I thought I would give you this message in between. I'm going to start with a humorous perspective from a Jewish feminist biblical scholar, Amy Jill Levine, an American. She writes, "The Virgin Mary used to make me nervous. When I was a child growing up in predominantly Roman Catholic town in Massachusetts, my friends informed me that Jesus would return the same way he'd come. That is, a Jewish virgin would be his mother. Being the only Jewish virgin I knew of in the neighbourhood, I might therefore become the Messiah's mother. Consequently, during much of second grade, I was absolutely petrified that an angel would appear in my bedroom and say, 'Hail, Amy Jill,' and tell me I was going to have a child." Well, good morning everyone again, and I hope you're having a meaningful Lent. Can you believe it's only 3 weeks to Good Friday? The Annunciation of Mary took on more meaning for me on the 25th of March 1992 when Archbishop Peter Carnley ordained me to the diaconate. Up until then, in my mind and my life, it had been a lovely Christmas reading and an example of a brave and obedient Mary who seems to argue with God less than the men in the Bible who are called to do momentous things. Since then, upon reflection, life experiences, and I hope growing up a bit, it has come to mean a great deal to me. For those of us who are ordained, I think it's helpful to delve deeply into the festival and personalities chosen for our date. I feel blessed that the Annunciation is a ripper, with its fear and favour, calling and crisis, and sense of danger and uncertainty. After all, that has been my experience of Vocatio, which involved a lot of soul searching before the required yeses within myself and from the church. And now that I'm chaplain of a girls' school named after Mary, I've been challenged by some of my previous notions of Mary's passivity and what form her obedience took to her special call. In a society and church that are still working their way through patriarchy, I think there are potential dangers in the way we unpack this story. To begin with, the initiative starts with God. God comes to Mary, God speaks to Mary, and God asks Mary to be a life bearer. I wonder if this resonates with any of you. How often do we simply wait, allow some silence and some space, and let God be God? I know I like to work to timetables and schedules and to know what's coming so I can tick the to-do boxes. The Annunciation can be added to the long list of biblical examples where God is only truly heard in the silence or the still small voice. When Mary is sure she's in the presence of holiness, she is fearful or perplexed, we're told. Again, this is almost a biblical refrain. Everyone is terrified when in the presence of God until they are named, called, and commissioned. Once Mary gets it, she says her unconditional yes, and she becomes the Theotokos, the God-bearer. But to get it, she moves through her sense of unworthiness to, well, it's a big call, but you are God, and I'll give it a go. Her vocation is not only a sign of how much God loves, believes, and trusts in her, but of how much she loves, believes, and trusts in God. She is always in charge of her own choices. It is God's invitation, but her decision to follow that invitation and that calling. For those of us who feel a bit shortchanged that we haven't had such encounters or seen God or God's messengers face to face, remember God telling Moses that he may not look on the divine countenance, but he will see God's back as he passes by. I think that often in life, it is in the looking back that we see God's hand and presence in things. Mary will look back on this day. She will look back on her son's life, death, and resurrection, and she will be confused, and she will ponder, that lovely word we translate from the Greek. She will ponder. But she will always be aware of Emmanuel, God with us. And then the angel left her, just like that. She's on her own, a young expectant mother, soon to be caught up in scandal, and no one can do it for her. I sometimes forget how much God believes in me, and I've just got to grow up and get on with it. Have a blessed Annunciation Day, and may the rest of your Lent be pregnant with hope, meaning, and expectation.